friends, and welcome back. This recording is meant to give you an example of a sample speech for your informative speeches coming up. So you should be able to see the Word document, which is the sample PowerPoint. Outline that I've put together for you guys. I wanted to show you in this view so that you can see. You'll put your information over the top of mine. You'll replace it, but you can see there aren't a lot of words on this page. Meaning there are no full sentences, there are no paragraphs, and the reason is if you use an outline, again, it allows you to deliver your speech extemporaneously, meaning this is your guide. It helps you know where to go and where you are, but you don't have to read from it, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. So I just wanted to show you, from my view, it's a one page. It is okay if yours goes to 2 pages, but I do want to ask you to avoid using full sentences, unless you have a direct quote, let's say somewhere, and you need to have exactly those words, okay, to quote the author directly. The other thing I want to point out before I start is that if you'll notice, I have one in-text citation here. You will end up needing 3, as I've noted in the directions. My in-text citation is here in parentheses, and when I get to it, you'll be able to hear how I refer to it as if it were real, so that you know how to refer to your in-text citations. As I mentioned, you do have to include an in-text citation for your sources. Any time or place you refer to somebody else's works or ideas, you have to put an in-text citation next to it. Otherwise, it's plagiarism, like we talked about. I am not requiring a works cited or reference page, just because our course objectives don't talk about it. And I know most of you have not had probably English 102 to have taught you that process before, but I do at least want you to know, yep, you do have to have an in-text citation to avoid plagiarism. Okay, so that's why I'm requiring it in the body. And again, you have access to the communication tutor as well as librarians. If you need help with practicing this speech, you can call or connect with the communication tutor, as well as other folks in the writing center if you need help with this in-text citation business. Okay, so what you see on this template is the placeholder information followed by what I would actually say, and what I'm going to say for you verbally. When you go to submit this speech, you're going to delete the placeholder information, and it's only going to say whatever information goes in that area. So instead of having attention getter, I actually just have my question that I'm going to use there. So I'm going to be looking, and that's what the note says at the top, is when you use this template on the day of your presentation, be sure to take out the placeholder information and my information and replace it with yours. So, by the way, the reason I have name here is not because I don't know my name, but it's to remind me to say it. In most speeches, but certainly in workplaces, it's easy to forget people's names or you've never met them. And if you're going to do a lot of work to put together a speech, you might as well get credit for it. And the only way you're going to get credit for it is if people know who you are. So again, it clarifies for your audience, and it also adds to your credibility. Okay, so I'm going to talk through this. This is not a speech I would have actually given for our class. It's just an easy way for me to talk through this. The reason it doesn't work for our class is because I can't really do research on this topic. You guys we're spending some weeks on your speech, and you will be doing research on your topic. So again, yours will have a little more information than this. Sorry about that. I've recorded so many videos, I think I'm losing my voice. You'll notice that my rate might be a little faster than usual, and that's just because I guess I'm in the habit of delivering this speech quickly because I've given it so many times. So I will try to be mindful and slow it down, but I also don't, because it is a sample speech, it doesn't need to take the full 4 minutes. You should practice your speech before you record it so that you're sure you fit in the time requirements, okay? So if I were giving this speech, I would say, hey, everybody, how are you? Good? Awesome. This is me waiting for people. Well, I'm here today to talk to you guys about food. Who in here loves food? A couple of you. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm Carol Redden, and I'm happy to say that I have done research on food. In fact, I did research for this assignment. Today, specifically, I'm going to be talking to you about my favorite foods. And those are, in terms of types, those are Chinese, Italian, and also Mexican. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with Chinese food. My first favorite item of Chinese food is called spicy chicken. It's just called spicy chicken dish, I should say, from Pei Wei. If you've never had it, it has a very tangy sauce and it comes with grilled or steamed chicken. I like it either way, and I really enjoy the tangy sauce. I also love orange peel chicken from P.F. Chang's. It also has a tangy sauce, which is probably why I also love it. The chicken, though, there is slightly breaded, so it's a little less healthy, but like I said, I still enjoy it. And as I mentioned, my second favorite type of food is Italian. One of the places I like to go is Anzio's. It's on the west side of town, and I like to get their lasagna. The reason I like their lasagna is because it comes with a very rich marinara sauce, and for me, that's important. It also has a blend of cheeses, and I've not really had that blend in other places. So I continue to go back for this particular lasagna, and they kind of know me by name there. And that is also because my other favorite item for Italian food comes from the same restaurant, but they make a really great dish that's called chicken and broccoli. Again, for me, this is really helpful, or I should say tasty, because the sauce is kind of like Alfredo, but it's lighter than that. And I appreciate that because sometimes when I have Alfredo, I feel kind of heavy after eating it. So this is lighter. It does have butter in it, but it's lighter than Alfredo sauce. The best part probably is there's a ton of broccoli in it. I love broccoli, so this is a perfect dish for me. The third favorite food I have would be Mexican food. The place that I've listed here for Mexican food is also on the west side of town. In fact, all my places seem to be on the west side of town. But there's an item there called the Mary Lou. This is something I haven't had anywhere else, and I haven't seen anywhere else since. It's a crispy quesadilla, but then inside the quesadilla, it's filled with red or green chili. I personally like to get a 50-50 split. So they'll put half green chili on one side and then the other half is red chili. And cheese crisps have never been the same for me since I've had that. The other item, surprisingly or not, that I like from Mexican food would be just the salsa from this place called Popo's. It's not super spicy. It's only semi-spicy. Of course, I think it's very tasty. I could eat it just as a meal. In fact, I probably have just had a ton of chips and salsa in my lifetime from there. Even my nieces, when I take them, they're so into the salsa at Popo's, they will dip their chip in the salsa and suck the salsa off. And then they just keep going. So as you can imagine, they get their own salsa dishes now. In conclusion, today I've talked to you guys about my favorite foods. I told you they were Chinese, Italian, and Mexican. And I guess all this talk of food is making me hungry. Not sure if anybody else feels that way, but I think I'm going to go have some lunch. Are there any questions? Okay. You'll notice I actually forgot to cite my in-text citation, and that's because I was scrolling up and then it got covered by my icon and my picture that says recording. So that's my bad. I didn't anticipate my recording option covering my outline. So I'm going to just go back through that. If I were going to give this live, I would say I would be talking about my second main point, and I would say I like chicken and broccoli from Anzio's. Again, it's a very tasty sauce. It's not as heavy as Alfredo. It's like butter. It's more like butter, and that comes from the menu item from Anzio's in a 2019 menu. That's all I have to say to cite my source. If you were citing from, let's say, a website, you can say you would have in parentheses, let's say, times.com, right? And as you were talking verbally, you would say, in a recent article from the New York Times or from times.com, they said this. And remember, anytime you take somebody's specific words, you need to put quotation marks around them. If you take just their ideas, you don't need quite quotation marks. But citing a source is really just what we do if we're going to gossip anyway, right? If we were going to say, oh, did you hear Scottsdale's getting an ice cream cone machine? The first question would be, no, who told you that, right? Because we want to know the source. So we're already in the habit of sharing our sources verbally. So we want to make sure we do that. This is where the practicing right before you deliver your speech comes in. You don't want to forget your sources. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about while I was in this video. Oh, the last item that I want to be sure everybody has is the reference to item C here. It should be, are there any questions? Not is there any questions, because grammatically that's incorrect. So it breaks my heart when that happens. Everybody's final line should be, are there any questions? That adding that in helps to remind the audience that we are in fact done. Okay, so that's why we have that. The other thing I wanted to point out at the top, you'll notice I didn't share my information necessarily in the order it's written, which is fine. You can reorder it on your outline, or if you're talking and you accidentally skip something, you can go back and add those things. Some people start with the attention getter and then they share their name and then they share their topic. As long as you cover and it flows well, I should say you cover everything there and it flows well, then you're fine. Do what feels natural for you. That's the beauty of having an outline, is that everything's here. If you're looking at the outline, you shouldn't forget it. Just don't scroll and have, like I did, and have an icon that goes over the top of it. That's something to think about, which hasn't happened yet for me. But um, the whole point of this outline is that it guides you without telling you exactly what to say. If for some reason I'm going through and I skip one or two of these main points, nobody else knows that I was going to say those things. You're not going to be showing me your outline when you're presenting. You're just going to be on camera. I'm sharing my outline with you because I'm teaching you how to use your outline, but you won't be showing me your outline. In fact, you may or may not decide to share your screen. I would prefer you don't share your screen, because I'd prefer to see you as the main component. So for example, I'm sharing right now, but if I stop sharing, you'll see this is how the visual changes. Right now the focus just is on me, the person, as opposed to what I'm sharing with you. So that's what I'd like to see for yours as well. I do hope that this recording was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions about your speech, definitely let me know. I'm happy to help. But if you are watching the recordings and working through the assignments, I think you'll find that all of your questions can be answered. All right, with that, I'll say have a great day. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your hard work.